Thanks so much for joining this stream. Make sure you check below and hit the like button, and make sure you're subscribed. The lights are on, the cameras are rolling, and we're ready to go live. So make sure you comment and ask as many questions as you can. That makes this experience better, and it lets the algorithm know that this is engaging, and so it goes ahead and invites other people into the stream as well. So thank you very much for making this channel what it is. And let's compare some e-ink tablets. Hello and warm welcome this evening. Going to talk about this security issue with the Bigme that was just over the weekend. I made a little post about it. I don't know if you saw that or anything like that, but certainly there's going to be a job to get some of that trust back. For instance, Steve-O was about to order a B7, but had actually given up, opted to go for something else. We're going to talk about the B7 today, but not because of security issues, because as far as we're aware, there's no other issues with any other Bigme tablet or device apart from the HiBreak Pro, which is a real disappointment. Just let me know that you're here and say hello. And if you're here on the live, make sure you do ask lots of questions. I really want to hear your opinions as well. And we're also going to talk today about the ViWoods as well, because there's been an update to that. So I'm going to go ahead and look at some of the new features on the ViWoods. And yeah, we're just going to have a good old chat in general about e-ink tablets. But the main thing we're going to talk about is this issue with Bigme and BadBox. Just let me know that you can hear me loud and clear and everything like that. If you are here live, if you're here on the replay, I'd love to hear your opinions as well. Bigme would love to hear your opinions as well. I'm sure it will help them going forwards as well to hear these things. I'm not going to talk about root and other ROMs, not more beyond this answer to your kind of question here, I suppose. That is a viable alternative. What I would say is that one thing that e-ink companies have to do is to work out a ROM to actually drive the e-ink panel itself, and that is one thing that Bigme have certainly got right. So it's a very difficult choice, you know, to take this skin off and put something else, which is, yes, might well be one that's designed for e-ink, but might not have the optimizations for this particular e-ink panel that Bigme are doing, and Bigme are doing that well. But yeah, to actually root a device, it's quite involved. It's not something, you know, if I, as a reviewer, it's not something that I can really go down that route very easily and say, I think you should do this and root a device and get a whole new experience. Really, I can only really review devices as they're sent to me. I'm going to fire in. I plan to say quite a bit about this BadBox issue that they had. Please do fire in your opinions. I'd love to hear them. This is the Bigme HiBreak Pro, and yeah, there's been a bit of an issue with it. So just give me 30 seconds, please, and I will be back to begin that chat. Let me know what you think. Say hello, and yeah, let's do it. Recently, my channel hit 50,000 subscribers, so thank you so much to each and every one of you who spend any time here watching my content. I'm always interested to hear what you've got to say, and I always value your comments and your questions to inform my content going forward. But I would absolutely love it if I could hit 100,000 this year, so please go ahead and make sure that you are subscribed, and let's run those numbers up to get to 100K in 2025. Cool, let's chat. So can I trust Bigme? Can you trust Bigme going forward? That's the question, really. I heard the news on Saturday. I heard the news via a notification, which is interesting because this device is one that I've bought specifically to limit the number of notifications that I get and have an e-reader experience of a phone, and it's really done that for me as well. So there's been an issue with that, and funnily enough, I heard it via the notifications feed, and it was a comment on one of my videos about this. Of course, I've been very praising of this, and I stick by that praise about the device. At least I'm not here to defend Bigme, I'm not here to attack them. I'm just trying to do what I always do. I'm trying to make a balanced piece of journalism. I'm looking forward to hearing your opinions, and no doubt you've got very well-informed opinions as well. Maybe you haven't, maybe you're just interested. There isn't anything to worry about now, I think, but it is worth discussing Bigme going forward as well. And trying to answer that question today, can I trust Bigme going forwards? So I'm looking forward to hearing your opinions, but try and keep those balanced as well, and understand that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to say Bigme's side. I'm not trying to go against them. I'm just trying to do a bit of journalism here. So basically, the Bigme HiBreak Pro was found to have some malware on Saturday. In fact, it went back a little bit before that. It was alerted. A company in Germany alerted their firewall alerted that they were sending information to a server. The device was sending information or trying to connect to a server is a better way to put it. This is what we sort of know so far. And Bigme have sent a response, and I'll go through that as well. And yeah, it's just here to have a live stream. This live stream is just here so we can all have that discussion. So what happened? Well, it seemed like there was a bit of code within their third-party system which is used for the facial recognition. So they didn't make their own facial recognition algorithm. They sort of farmed that out and bought one in from a third-party company. And within that, the code was there connecting to a server, which I can show you the address of the server. It looks like a little ad server. Now that server has been known to be linked with bad actors. It's been known to be linked with malware, and it's been known to be connected by this malware, which was on the device. Now, malware itself was called Badbox, and it was a bit of code, a bit of malware from 2020, and that's significant. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. But you see, what I did, I responded to this on Saturday by getting my Bigme and installing this thing next DNS and blocking this particular server, this address that it was trying to connect to. And you can see if I go to my logs, this was the advice that I found on Reddit, you will see way back, you will see firstly it isn't trying to communicate with that today, because Bigme have already updated this and they did respond to it very quickly. So if you have got a Bigme HiBreak Pro, you need to get it out and you need to make sure it is updated, and then you don't need to worry, because there shouldn't be any connections to this server. But you can see I have to go way back to Saturday essentially in these logs to find the examples of that server. If I just click on only show me the blocked queries, might be a quicker job to get back to that. There we are. So way back on at the weekend, you can see it has actually blocked it trying to connect to that server. Now that server itself was not being used for anything. That server itself wasn't in the hands of the bad actors that initially set it up. In fact, it was shut down some time ago by something called, I think, Shadow Server, who sort of find these things out and go ahead and take over those domains and make sure they can't do anything wrong with them. Anyway, so there was a bit of code, essentially a bit of dormant code was on the device in the facial recognition program files, if you like. But that was from 2020, and somehow it woke up over the weekend and somehow it started communicating to a server. Now, that points to two things. It's from 2020. That's significant for two reasons, I think. Firstly, that if it was from 2020, Bigme probably weren't trying to do something maliciously themselves. That's not the bit of malware that you choose to put on a device if you were trying to actually collect people's data for bad reasons. You just wouldn't opt for a completely out of date piece of malware. You would opt for an up-to-date one. So that's not what Bigme were doing, let's face facts. And they wouldn't have chosen to develop an e-ink phone to get malware in the hands of users. That just takes far too long. There's far easier ways than to develop this phone to put it into the hands, to put malware into the hands of users and collect bank information or whatever, or logins. Now, So it was almost certainly some carelessness on the part of Bigme or their third-party vendors for the facial recognition. That's probably the thing there. So secondly, also importantly, well, it was from 2020, so Google and Google security, the Android security was all over stopping this thing, and it wasn't able to do whatever it's trying to do because, you know, that is a bit of malware that's been learned about and shut down and stopped for some time. Okay. So I don't think there's much of a worry about you already having lost your data or lost secure information, lost important information to these bad actors because of those two reasons. But the big question is, can you trust Bigme going forward if they've made this type of error? And that's what I can see that you're thinking about already. Can you trust the device to handle your banking and credit card transactions, for example? So the weekend, people were like, well, I'm turning it off. I'm using it as a reader, just off the Wi-Fi maybe. That's what people were doing. But the question is, if they've made this error, will they make that error again? Glad to serve that. Yep. Yeah, so absolutely. So it is something, it is an error, and they are not the only people to have made this error. But it's a real shame because I've really enjoyed this bit of bit of hardware. It's really done what I wanted it to do. I can take this with me, and I've got a reader with me, but I'm still connected by a phone. I don't have to take my big distraction hog. Okay, so I think for some people, though, for a lot of people using it and wanting to use it as their one and done machine, then it is going to maybe change things and make you question whether you can rely on it to do all of your smartphone things. So for me, I wasn't trying to do that. I hadn't installed my banking apps. I'd left them on this sort of already set up big mobile phone. I kind of call this or Android tablet type thing that I use as well. So I hadn't gone over for things like that, and perhaps I won't now. But the point of the device being my sort of second, my everyday carry when I want to be disconnected, then that's it's still able to do that type of thing. So that trustworthiness is probably a little bit damaged, and they'll need to build that trust. And that's the question I want to hear from you. What do you think they need to do now to build that trust back up? So I installed Next DNS. I was secure. Bigme released a software update within 24 hours. That is true. And they shut that down and stopped any phone connecting with that server. So if you have got a HiBreak Pro, just turn it on, run an update, and you should be absolutely fine. You will be absolutely fine. But you might be less trusting of it going forward. Now, is that fix good enough? I'm not sure. I think it's good enough for me and my purposes. At least they've been open about it, and they've already, the information about where this malware came from, why it was on the device, how it got there, has been provided by Bigme, and they've given a solution straight away. But I don't think, looking through the forums and things, it's answered everyone's concerns just yet. So what do you think? Can you trust this going forward? And can you trust your other Bigme devices? Can you trust Bigme as a company? Okay, and that's the question I want to look at answering together today, really. I think it largely depends on their response to this. They've already issued a response, and I will sort of go through that right now. The response they've sent to me, and a very similar response they put on Reddit, although there is a couple of extra bits of detail I think that I have to go through with you. So they've said, firstly, yeah, your trust means everything to us, and we'll continue earning it through actions. And that's what I mean. It's not just the response today and over the weekend that's been quite good. It's the response over the next few weeks and months and years that's going to really build that trust back up. So the domain was actually used for legitimate third-party facial recognition licensing. So actually they said that the third party was using that domain, and that server was trying to connect to essentially count how many devices were using the facial recognition so that they could charge Bigme for the number of devices using their service. Unfortunately, it says the service provider was compromised externally. Okay, so they took immediate action, and they released a firmware over the air within 24 hours of detection. They did that. That permanently severed all the connections to the domain, and they confirmed that no malicious code exists on the devices. So they've gone through and they've checked their code and made sure there's nothing there as well. They say they regret any concern this has caused. They're an ethical company. Bigme never collects data without permission, and this incident stemmed entirely from a partner security lapse, not intent. So I don't think that it has been intent. Absolutely. They also say that your feedback drives our progress. And we had a little bit of a chat, and I mentioned, that I'd be doing this live stream, and I'd mentioned those things as well. And they said, well, okay, you've inspired us to systemize our feedback better. We warmly invite you to share advice or brainstorm product ideas by email anytime. Your review and insights are invaluable. Okay, so one thing they want to do is they want to systemize their feedback better. So if you've got an opinion of how Bigme could engage better with their users, to systemize their feedback, to receive your feedback, and also to act on it, that would be welcome. And you can put that into this forum here, either now, or you can have it on the comments as well. But I think that's quite a good response, really, as well. Okay. I think the most insightful comment I've had recently, though, was essentially that people really want this phone to happen. They really want this to be a good phone, like a lot of you have said. Yeah, really want this to be. Really been looking forward to this, no doubt, Aaron. And I'll go through the rest of the chat just after this sort of planned section, really. But a lot of people won't jump on it until it is manufactured by Google, or Apple, or Samsung, or one of those key players. And the reason for that being that a small team like Bigme is going to make mistakes like this. They have to develop quickly. And I wonder if that's one of the issues. I've been quite critical of their software. But have they tried to develop their software too quickly, and they've gone out to third parties to write bits of their code for their software? And that's where this issues come in and might have happened there. In which case, they need to learn from that, and they need to make sure that they are having those having better vetting procedures in their systems to ensure that doesn't happen. But saying that, they're a small company, but this has happened. This type of thing has happened to larger companies. We've got one example, and I'm wondering if any of you remember these examples or can give any other examples. But the one I found it happened to Lenovo. That was what was their one called? I'm just finding the right. It was called. Here it is. Yeah, Superfish scandal in 2015. So this is the single worst thing I've seen a manufacturer do to its consumer base. That had laptops with pre-installed adware that hijacked web traffic and compromised HTTPS security. So that was from the register.com, that quote there. Asus had a live update breached in 2019. What happened there? They pushed a malicious software update to hundreds of thousands of Asus computers. I do remember that one, actually. It contained a backdoor. Apple, not themselves, but they had an app. It's called the Xcode Ghost incident. And the app was allowed onto the App Store. And they've said that the apps on there have been checked and don't contain any security weaknesses. So not Apple themselves, but again, a third party linked with Apple. So that can happen there as well. Okay. So it can happen to small companies. It can happen to big companies as well. The bad box itself, this is the name of the malware code that was found. The bad box itself is one that was found in cheap Android TV boxes and other Android gadgets around the 2020s. Okay. Over 1 million Android-based devices had this problem with it. And had it live, not this kind of dormant bit of code that was actually there to try and fulfill a legitimate reason. Okay, so I'm going to go with Hanlon's razor on this one in saying that it doesn't make any sense for Bigme to try and do this. It doesn't make any sense for Bigme to be collecting your information in this way. If they wanted to collect the information in this way, they'd do it in a far more sophisticated way than this accidental bit of code on their thing. They make just a cheap, glossy smartphone, and they would sell it a lot cheaper than other people. And that would be a far easier way to get it into the hands of people and steal their information. So Hannon's raise was just, think a mistake before you think of malice, essentially. But if they make more mistakes going forward, then that is the issue. And that's what this question really is. Perhaps next time it won't be a piece of dormant code from years ago. It might be something that's actually up to date. And if that was the case, then yeah, that could be a bigger issue. So what do you think? I'm obviously disappointed for a lot of reasons. I've been saying how much I've enjoyed this phone. A lot of you might maybe have picked it up on my sort of recommendation. I am going to continue using mine. I sort of gave it a rest. I did turn it off when I first heard, and then I blocked it from the thing, and I carried on using it from then. And now it's had an update, which means that it's no longer an issue there as well. Yeah, has it spoiled the experience for you? Let me know in the chat. There's just a few more bits to say, and I'll go through that. Having a big mistake like this is quite public. I'm publicizing it a bit more here. It's going to be difficult for them to recover for this, but I certainly hope they do. I'm sort of rooting for them to get this right and learn from this going forwards. And now you're looking at something like the Minimal phone and thinking, well, the Minimal phone has a very stock Android experience, but because of that, it has a very bad ePaper experience, if that makes sense. So I think there's a bit of a trade-off here, really. And you might say, Bigme, well, why didn't Bigme just go ahead and sort of just stick on stock Android, really? Why have they tinkered with it so much to have these issues where they might have added in this code? Well, the answer is, when you look at a device like this, how badly it runs without their skin on top, without their e-ink optimizations. And partly, I mean, this thing, the battery life on this goes for weeks on end, actually, if it's just not being used for much other than reading, whereas the Minimal phone, barely a day and a half, even just on standby. And part of that is because it is just a pretty stock Android experience, not adapted at all for the ePaper panel. And you just see, if I log into it, it's just not a good experience, whereas you've got this much nicer optimized space, much better contrast over here. So if you want them to make that amazing, e-ink optimizations, then they're going to have to customize Android on top. So I think you do want that. But I am looking at this guy. And thinking, Minimal, you've got a little bit of an opportunity. If you can rush out your updates, rush, there's the key word there, isn't it? If you can do your updates well and safely, quick enough, then maybe this could be an option as well. One thing I'd say, though, to you all is that remember that your app data is always secured. No matter which version of Android you're on, it is always secured by Google Play services. Someone's at the door. They're always secured by Google Play services. So if your data in your apps are always safe. Just give me 30 seconds. Thanks so much for being here and spending time with me on this live stream. I really enjoy engaging with you guys and answering your questions live. It's a massive support to me. Now, if you do decide that one of the devices that I review here on my channel is for you, then go ahead and check the links in the description, because when you make a purchase through a YouTuber's affiliate links, you make it possible for us to keep making content for you. So apologies. He saw me through the window, so he didn't want to knock on the door. Okay, so that's live, the dangers of making live YouTube, I suppose. So yeah, so your apps are secured on any Android device by Google Play. If the app has been installed by Google Play, your app data is safe in there. But yeah, maybe some people are thinking about taking their SIM card out of this and putting it in something else now. I also think perhaps there's an opportunity for Boox to get, if they can get their mobile connectivity sorted out quickly, there's an opportunity for them here as well. Cool. Okay, so let's have a little look through a few things. I think it certainly is mere negligence. Yeah, I don't think it's an intentional malicious purpose. I say, if this was what they were doing for malicious purpose, then they're pretty bad at what they're doing anyway. This I've seen quite a bit. Not surprised this sort of thing on Chinese phones. My Hisense phone connects to all sorts of questionable Chinese domains. I've used Blockadder to block 5 of them. Yeah, so you can definitely do that. You can just sort of look up. Next DNS is another one that you can do that. Go through and block anything you don't like the look of. Hopefully, you won't have any issues with that as well. I'm not sure what we're congratulating there, but that's cool. Okay, is there a color version coming along? Yeah, absolutely. Web apps are difficult to use in monochrome. For example, Word or yeah, I imagine there'll be a color one at some point. But right now, I really like the black and white one. I wonder what other people's opinions are. I really do like the black and white just now. I was planning to get a HiBreak Pro because my Hisense phone screen broke, though. I'm tempted to hold out for a color version. Yeah, don't blame you as well. And Thomas says he's absolutely impressed with Bigme's response. It was certainly quick. It was certainly very quick. And Aaron, yeah, I already mentioned, I don't think you've got a lot to worry about this as well. It was if you look back through Reddit, you'll find out it was a German sort of, I think a research company perhaps. But yeah, they put out a letter saying that they found this. Are there any fraud cases linked to that phone model security issues? I'm not sure. Yeah, that would be the way to do it, I suppose, if there was. But I don't think that it's been. I don't think that there's going to have been a security issue where people have actually been defrauded because of this. I'm really delighted just to say I'm a physics teacher. I know that. And some people obviously use my old videos to study for their physics paper free. So congratulations on finishing your physics A level if that's you today. Great, great job to you all. How unfortunate this gets uncovered the exact moment they're launching a new device. Bigme launching a new device, yeah. Yes, it is unfortunate, and I do feel for them, I must admit. They've tried really, really hard to improve their devices, and this device I thought was the kind of device that was going to make it for them, and it is really, really good. So, yeah, I think you've got to ask yourself, for me personally, I think I'm going to carry on using it as I was. I don't think I'm going to be putting my banking apps on it anytime soon, but I wasn't thinking of doing that anyway. I wasn't going to do that particularly, although I do want this future where I'm thinking I'm not ever going to replace my big Z Fold. I think that's going to be the case. I don't know because I'm kind of tempted, but I think I'm going to switch at some point to being all out ink. Whether this is this or not, I don't know. Is it similar to Boox phoning home? I mean, we don't have any kind of like definitive proof on this. There's this kind of constant sort of undertone with any Chinese device that there must be something put in there by the Chinese government that means that they call home for some reason. The Boox phoning home, incidentally, and incidentally now it's stopped if you are on a US server, was like 6 kilobytes or something of data, and I think that all it was the phone connecting to a Chinese server saying, "Do you have an update for me?" And the server I would say, "Yes, here it is. Go to the update thing," or "No, I don't have one." So the kind of that's my theory on that anyway. So no, I don't think it's the same thing. I don't think that was a big issue in any case. It is amazing to use in direct sunlight, yeah, but the camera is pretty poor, yeah. So yeah, cameras get a really good camera would be my suggestion, everyone. So I don't think so. That's a good one. So I'm looking through on Reddit. I think most people are having the same opinion as me, really. Carry on using it now in the way that you were using it, but watch and watch this space and see. Really, right now it has been improved, it has been solved, and I think that's job done really. Yeah, the B7, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. Yeah, Bigme's have explained this. They've been very open. Okay. Yeah, the software was trying to poll this domain, which used to be legitimate before it was compromised. So there you are. So the code was trying to communicate to a server which had then been compromised, but had also been taken down as well. So yeah, Pixel apparently really good for cameras, really good. It is malicious of the facial recognition software. Why would facial recognition need to access a domain name with the name LX ads? Well, the explanation is that it was essentially counting how many devices were using the facial recognition so that they could charge Bigme for the use of their third-party software, essentially. So that was their explanation in any case. There we go. So not trusting Chinese domains, given the domain in question is actually located in Europe. I didn't know that. Thanks, TV. Appreciate that. Really good. Yes, there's a kind of common thing, isn't it? There's a distrust of anything we don't understand, and it seems that it's so behind kind of closed doors back there that we just don't understand things which are going on there. But hey, I don't know enough about that to discuss that, to be quite honest. I would also love a phone size color Palma. Sure, it would help me use my phone use it, absolutely. Would you like that Palma to be a phone though, and actually have a mobile communications? And it could well be the multifunctional company that offered other ads and other services. Yeah, absolutely, it could easily be that. Yeah, so lots of explanations, lots of possible explanations. I am going to go, as I said, with Hanlon's razor on this one. And I said, so it's likely to be not malice, but more likely to be a mistake. So Simply Law just asks very quickly, what's the small screen behind me? That's the terminal. At the minute, it's showing me the Austrian Grand Prix circuit, because that's the next one. They're showing me the date of that, the 29th of June. But it just sort of goes through a little cycle of panels, gives me a little bit of an update. Like, for instance, this morning was really good because I thought, oh, where's my phone? I want to quickly check what I'm doing this week. And it just flashed, and then it turned into my calendar. So it was great. So I could just quickly scan across what I had on for the rest of the week. So that was really useful. It's called Terminal, and I've got a couple of videos on it already. So yeah, I think the thing, just to conclude this last little bit here, I don't think it's as easy for Bigme as it is for other phone companies. It's not as easy for these e-ink phone companies as it is for other phone companies, because they can't just stick stock Android on. It doesn't work as well on an e-ink panel as it does on a normal phone. You know, you don't need to optimize. You don't need to add, and worry too much about your security if you can just stick stock Android on your device. And I think I will trust the Bigme. I will trust Bigme going forward, and I've gone back to using my HiBreak again, but I don't think I'll be putting banking apps on it for a little while at least. I think that they should go for third-party checking of their code, and I think they should probably just publicly share their source code for their kernel, for their operating system, and that would allow for more trust from the community. And I think the flip side of this is the community would spot things and suggest things and help them actually improve their code if they do that as well. But I like their response, and I like they've said you've inspired us to systemize our feedback better, and they asked for my opinions on how to do that, and I'm asking for your opinions now. How would you like to see them improve their feedback systems from you guys, the customers? How would you like to communicate with them? I was thinking probably having like Bigme do, I was thinking probably having like Boox do, just in the settings, have a feedback system within that you can put your log in there, and they can communicate in a little chat in there. At the minute, if you go to the feedback thing, it just takes you to WeChat or WhatsApp on an external link. So rather just to keep it all on device would be better as well. And then so yeah, how would you like to be giving your feedback to them? What do you think they can do to improve that system? And what do you think they need to do to improve the trust? Because I, for one, I'm rooting for them to get it right, because this is a great piece of hardware, and now their software is getting there as well. So let's call that a day for this one. And I'm going to talk about the ViWoods next. Just a couple of other questions here. Do I trust them with my personal private info or use it as a secondary device? Yes, I do, in as far as like Google Play apps, all of that software, all of the apps, if they're installed via Google Play, then that's Google Play protected, and all the data on there are looked after by them. So I'm quite happy with that situation, really. I do use it as a secondary device to say I don't have my banking on it, but I do have a credit card on there. I do have Google Pay has a credit card on there so that I can buy things should I need to, but generally, so yeah, it's got my accounts for my Google account, and it's got a credit card on there. I use Chrome on there. Again, those things, I'm trusting Google with that data, not Bigme. So that's one of the great things about Android, isn't it? Cool. Okay, so I will just give you a really quick thing while I have a little think about getting ready to talk about this guy, the ViWoods AI Paper, and tell you how they've improved things recently. If you're a tech enthusiast and you need AI at the touch of a button, the ViWoods might be worth considering for you. They're selling this on the AI functionalities from this dedicated AI button here at the bottom. You can hold it down and just speak to it. However, I think if you're really into AI, you'll probably be installing and using your own models here on the device. And now that it's got the Google Play Store, there are fewer reasons not to recommend the AI paper from ViWoods. But the real reason to buy this is if you want the Carta 1300, the latest, the best contrast, and the best definition screen that you can get on e-ink. Along with the Wacom EMR pen, the ViWoods is shaping up to be a really popular choice. ViWoods is quite a new brand, and they've gone down the route of integrating AI as their unique selling point. But for now, the software is not as mature as some of the other options that are out there. But it's an elegant design. It is the thinnest tablet that you could buy, thinner than an iPad Pro, 4.5 millimeters thin. And in use, you really do appreciate the paper-like feeling of having a really thin tablet like that in your bag or on your desk. Okay, so let's talk about the ViWoods. I'm just going to do one more thing. I've noticed the battery on this is going to die. And we're going to talk about this guy because they, as I said in that little snippet, they were a little bit further behind on their software than other brands. And I think they've done quite a lot of catching up. So just recently, they've released another update. And I'm going to take you through just a few of those things here today. Let's get it up on screen. Now we're all sorted. And also, their fingerprint reader. They have a fingerprint reader, which the equivalent Boox of this doesn't have. The equivalent size 10.3 Boox doesn't have. The actual device itself is really nice, and every time I get it out, I always remember how light and how thin it is. And yeah, it's a really nice piece of hardware. I'm interested to see what they'll do with hardware later as well. So the question is it still behind on the software? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it is that much anymore. Okay, there's a few things that maybe the Boox and Supernote have that it doesn't. It doesn't have an outline function. I would probably like to see some way of making a table of contents for your notes would be really quite good as well. So let's just go through a few things here. So firstly, the AI function here, you can either reach the AI by the button down here or the AI on the side here. You can actually have customized AI instructions. So essentially you can create up to 5, I think, in total, but I can create 4 because I've already got one. And you can give it a command that you want it to do. So let's say you want to summarize, or let's say bullet points. Now, incidentally, I really like their system for handwriting recognition as well. It's going to let me down now on screen, obviously, but it's one of the easiest to manage writing into the box systems that I've ever had at all. So I can write in detailed command to send to AI. So convert all to text and summarize and you notice you just get this little box at the bottom to move around. You can move the cursor with this one, and you can delete and things like that, so you're not having to use the pen for both functions as well. So I'm going to have to put convert again. Convert to text. Oh, it's really struggled, isn't it? I'm going to type it in after saying that it was really good. Convert to text and summarize as bullet points. And generally, I think they're on their way to having the best sort of handwriting recognition on any device, because now I've got my custom command. See, when I click that, it's going to screenshot that note page essentially, and it's going to go ahead and do that. So let's have a little look. There's the transcription. To create events, drag the pen to the plus symbol. Not quite what I wrote. The feature works well and is appreciated. AI annotation is effective for multiple pages during meetings. Pen functionality in Boox is considered among the best, as I've just said. Custom AI instructions are helpful, but may have limited sharing options. Currently, pasting content mainly works in Word. No, it doesn't work in Word, is what I've written there. So if I go share, I don't have the option to share to any of the apps at all that I have installed on the ViWoods, and that's what I'd like to see them add. Currently, you can only copy that AI response into a ViWoods app, which that's a nuisance. However, I raised that with them. I mentioned that to them, and they said, yep, we're going to add that. We're going to add that next time. So they're already on that as well. I also think that once I've got rid of that instantly, what I don't like is I think that AI chat is gone. I can't just open that AI chat again. It starts a whole new AI chat whenever I go into there. I think that's right. Oh no, there it is. It's just in there in my recents, so it is entirely there. So that's an issue that I don't have as well. Now, the other thing is that it would be really good if I could do multiple pages. You can do multiple pages in meeting notes though. So I'm going to go to meeting notes because they've improved things there as well. So if I go back to home, and I can go to meeting notes. This is one that I've got 2 pages in already. Let's think about this one. It's planning for a bit of sponsored content. But why am I showing you this? Because this can convert multiple pages. And actually the handwriting, I don't know if you can see that, is actually really quite nice script as well. So when I now go into my AI, I can convert just the current page or all pages or my custom range, and I can select to a maximum of 5 pages. So here we go. Convert all the pages, select all pages. It's my custom command, and I just want it to return me as properly formatted type text. You see it's now done like a long screenshot of the whole thing. And there it goes. It's done quite a good job because it can connect multiple pages, so it hasn't got it absolutely perfect. But this is the most useful AI text recognizer it is. It's actually the most accurate and useful AI text recognition that there is. I think if we go back to that page where I wrote that, let's see, is this the most accurate and useful AI text recognition? I can understand it's struggled to get that word recognition, but generally this is actually one of the better text recognitions that we've got in the whole thing. So pretty darn good. Let's go back to where we were. So you can do multiple pages in meeting minutes, but you can't do it in just the ordinary notes app, which is a bit of a stress. But again, I mentioned that and I said, yeah, we're planning on bringing multiple pages to notes app as well. Okay, so I like the custom AI instructions, but only can share to ViWoods apps, and I wanted them to change that. And I actually converted this next page, which was a little sort of quick conversation, if you like, that I wrote out, and it got it all right apart from one word. And I guess I could actually go back. Now I know how to do that. I could just ask it to convert that again. Last time it did exactly right apart from one word. Let's see if it gets it all right this time. Pretty good. Yeah, it actually got it right this time. Right now it's blooming useful, and the first time it did useless. So that's one interesting thing about AI, is you get a slightly different response at different times, don't you? So if I go to the AI, I can actually see the old one. That's not the one. I don't know where it is now, but anyway, it's good, right? It's actually quite a useful thing. It's actually quite well done. That's actually quite a useful thing. And those are my sort of main things that I like about this, that they've improved recently. I'll just talk a bit more about the device in a moment as well. Any questions about the device you'd like me to go through as well? It is getting to be more convincing, okay? It is getting better all of the time. I like, as I said, how thin and light it is. I actually really like that they give you, these are hard nibs that I'm using on the plastic. That's quite nice. It's not quite as nice a writing feel as the Super Note, but it is lovely. I don't love the placement. I've never loved the placement of these capacitive buttons at the bottom here. I do like the look of my handwriting on it, though, which is important to me. And I love the bright, high contrast for Carter 1300. The screen is one of the best screens you can get. And the software is catching up. The software is getting better. And that AI stuff is getting actually useful. Now, here's the sort of pièce de résistance. Really. If you go into Planner, and I've tested this out, not only can it link with your Outlook calendar, which mine is, but if I long press on the plus and I say, make a meeting tomorrow to go to Stratford upon Avon with my wife, put in note, see Shakespeare. It's thinking about what I've just said, and it's going to create an event. Hopefully it gets it right. Yes, it's got tomorrow. It didn't know what time. It said meeting with trip to Stratford upon Avon. It got that right. And it says in the notes, see Shakespeare. So cool. I can click all day if I want, or I could change the time. I can click in here and edit the event, and then I can just go confirm. And now it's made that event. There it is on there on my events up here. And there's the detail about it. So this is really quite good. So what other things have they improved and they wanted me to point out, wanted me to have a look at? Landscape reading and handwriting annotations is now supported. So now not only, I don't think I've got any landscape books, but now they've added landscape writing there as well, which is useful. It also now is pulling down cover images. So you can see here, for instance, it's pulled down a cover image for this particular book here. This little letter to us. It's pulled down a cover image of the user manual of this one here as well. So if there's an embedded cover image, it will pull that down now as well. That's useful. Event creation, I've just said. Voice based as well, really good. And you can actually create events from other sections. So if you were in paper, which is that paper, that's reading, that's paper there. You can create an event from this, which that could be quite a cool thing to do. So do I do that from the AI thing here? No, I don't. Do I do it from the AI assistant? It says event creation via AI across various sections. Create an event tomorrow to go to work at 9 a.m. No, it doesn't go ahead. It goes and gives me advice on how to make an event. So I'm not sure where that is, but here we go. Associate with daily. That must be the one. So you can do it from here. But it said via AI, didn't it? So that is one nice thing about this. Now you can see my tomorrow. I've associated a paper with it. So I can select that paper and it goes back to my note there that I was in. I think that's really quite cool as well. But they did say creating events, so it must be possible. They've improved their file management by adding a My Files module. So I don't have the My Files module up at the minute. I suppose you can make one of these files, but there's files here. There we are. So now we've got a proper file browser as well, which is useful. Auto sync for flexible backups. I haven't tried that myself, but that's another thing. And they said improved writing tools. And I've noticed that the writing tools are better. Let's see what else they've said. They've changed though, because I haven't played about with all of these yet. They say enhanced calligraphy fountain pen, enhanced calligraphy and fountain pen. So that I've been using the fountain pen. I like the fountain pen. I couldn't tell you what they've improved about it, but it just looks better now. Is that on the calligraphy? They've improved the calligraphy pen. I don't use the calligraphy pen. Some people love the calligraphy pen on the Remarkable. I know that's the case. Pencil tools as well, as the pencil tool has been improved as well. And again, I can notice this. And it's a nice place to draw as well, because you do have that nice tilt and pressure sensitivity as well. So you can make a range of different marks, which is important for drawing. And it says Bezier curve correction for natural strokes. So I think that's what they've improved essentially, is now the curves are much nicer than they were. And you'll notice I've been doing a lot of these to show the differences between one type of pen and another. These generally look rounder than they do on capacitive type styluses. Thinking of my physics crew who were commenting earlier when I said the word capacitive. Also, there's a screenshot gesture. Also, there's a screenshot gesture, 4-finger swipe down. See if that works. Yep, it's made a screenshot. So there we go. Also, they've said syncing recurring events from Google and Outlook calendars is now possible, and customizable physical buttons. That's good. And traditional Chinese input method. So that's also good as well. I like that you can change these now to be what you like. They've also said in the next one, they're looking at that shareability to third-party apps like OneNote and Google Docs and others. And yeah, only the meeting module supports AI recognition for multiple pages, and they're going to work to have that across all other things in future. So any questions or comments about the ViWoods at all, or just any questions at all in general? Jeffrey says it looks snappier than the Supernote Manta. To go back to trust Bigme hardware and then use a community ROM for open source. Yeah, absolutely. That would be really cool. It would be great to see a company do that, wouldn't it? And they could be that person. Is Boox 4C and Go 10.3 a similar writing feel? Yeah, I'd say the same pretty much. Just got a Note Air 4C a few weeks ago. I wish it was a 13-inch, two of the same sizes. Really tough to rationalize. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's what I'm very interested to see. I really can't wait to see actually what ViWoods do next for hardware. What other options do I have? Maybe a 13.3. I mean, they've got the mini, but the mini is bad in my opinion. It's just old tech. But a 13-inch would be great. It'd be really interesting to see them do that and see what they bring to that. Cool. So let's talk a little bit more about Bigme next and the B7, and then just any other comments and questions. Just give me just a moment. You asked about the Note Air 4C, so I'll pop. This is the Boox Note Air 4C, and it's absolutely ideal if you're a student or a professional seeking a versatile e-ink tablet with a color display to enhance your note-taking and your reading. It's got the Boox Super Refresh, so you can see ghosting is minimalized without having to do full refreshes. This time they've improved the processor and given you 6 GB of RAM. It's full Android, so it's got Google Play Store as well, so you can access any app. And Android apps do work better on a color e-ink screen. Kaleido Free is by no means perfect, and it is quite dark without that front light. But for me, for a tablet where you're using dynamic content, at least it's quick and doesn't need to flash to change color. And actually this time around, they've really got it looking really good, for instance, in graphic novels. But of course, it's nowhere near the look you might expect from an LCD or an OLED tablet. But in my opinion, color e-ink is ready now to be really enjoyed by many people. But don't expect it to be really accurate to what you're going to get on an OLED screen or even a printout. And for that reason, they only give you access to a limited palette of colors, even in the Notes app. And I've covered that there are some flaws in the note-taking app with the pencil with tilt. Still a work in progress there, Boox. But people love it for the combination of the color ink display with that flexibility of the Android ecosystem. It really makes it a great tool for your work and for leisure. I love standing up in this mode and using it with a Bluetooth keyboard. So we're going to talk about the Bigme B7 next. Okay, Jeffrey just says that it's very smooth and looks to handle pressure very well. Yeah, that's talking again about the ViWoods. Yes, it is. It does handle the pressure very well. It's just generally a nice place to write. Actually, it's only got better that, and it's a nice sign that they've carried on improving the actual software and the experience rather than just sort of marketing a new device, which they could have easily done. So this is the B7, and yeah, this is going to be a tricky one because what I normally do, okay, the way I normally interact with the device to begin with, whilst I'm getting used to it, is I make a notebook, and you'll see me get frustrated during this one. I make a notebook and I start writing my first thoughts, and I live with the device and I use it as my sort of notebook. There we go. I finally got there. Where did that come from? It's made the word gel there. I don't know how that happened. I make a notebook and I start writing my thoughts as I go. So this is the thing. It's many times just missing the stroke. And I don't know if the pen isn't charging right. It seems to work sort of again after a little while. But the pen ends up missing strokes. You can just see it's like hit and miss to the point where you just give up with the pen. And then you've bought this device, which is it's a nice enough reader, except the color is way off here. And you bought it because it's got this pen and it just doesn't work. I mean, what I was thinking was happening was that it was detecting my hand, sort of. I was thinking, why miss strokes? Right, it's working now-ish. But actually, I was doing it there. It just wasn't recognizing a moment ago at all, was it? And I was wondering, is it because it's in its case? Oh, you can just see it's just all over the place. It's just unreliable. So you know you can't rely on the pen. And that is a real nuisance. And it is charging. You can tell it's charging because the little LED, which is very hard to see, the little LED. But you know it's there and you know it's on and you know it's charging. There it is, connected and charging. Yet it's just, it misses all these strokes all of the time. And then you look and you run a Geekbench on it, and this is the lowest Geekbench score I've ever seen on anything. 190 single core and 881 multi-core. I mean, it's just, yeah. And it refused to do the GPU benchmark. It refused to use the GPU benchmark. So it was just shocking. Yeah. Is that something that happens like other times on Bigme Khaled? I mean, come on. I don't know why. I don't know why it said gel there randomly, but anyway. So that was actually a bit of palm recognition that, you know, it actually was triggered by my palm and somehow managed to write gel. So I don't know what happened there. I know, I'm a bit starstruck as well. You know, one of the greatest e-ink reviewers that there is out there. Yeah, very thorough review there as well. And the fact that this is actually more expensive than the Go Color 7 is baffling to me as well. The CPU in the B7 is awful compared to the SD690 and the Go Color 7 too. Absolutely, the Snapdragons are one of the better things about that. And I also can't seem to manage to get away to get my ordinary Android buttons or the old. They used to have all the things in the top menu, but they're gone as well, it seems. But the CPU they have in this thing is a MediaTek. They work at MediaTek on the Helio P35, which I can only say is possibly the worst processor I've seen in an e-ink tablet. And I think actually we often say this, don't we, that e-ink tablets don't need good processors, but they do. They really do. They do for two reasons. They do because as soon as you try and do anything Android with them, then it demands that higher level processor. And a better processor, this is the second reason, a better processor has a better GPU, and a better GPU leads to a good time on e-ink, in my opinion. And this is not a good time on e-ink. So I was showing this, and I was showing I couldn't find a way to make it look even close to looking good on color. It's just never coming out with, and I'm not going to do a side by side because I did a side by side last time. My word, it's like the dream team here as well, isn't it? We're going to have we'll see like Voya pop up in a minute or something like that, and and then I'll know. So yeah, it's always either looking washed out or the color is looking terrible. Although even this is looking a little bit better than it was the last time I went on a browser on a live stream. It was just like impossible. What I'll do, I'll just quickly I'll go back to YouTube because although I wouldn't never really watch YouTube on an e-ink device anyway, I think it's quite telling. I guess this guy won't copyright strike me if I put his great new video on.
It's the Boox Go 7. Honestly, it might just be the best e-reader Boox has ever made. And yes, it finally supports note taking with.
But you just see the color on here is kind of all over the place. It really isn't as accurate.
People have been waiting years
as it can be. And I found no way of actually getting it to be the kind of nice high definition. I've just released, just scheduled for release actually, they're putting me off my game as well. I've just scheduled for release a Note Air 4C and Tab XC comparison. And what I was doing is I had a NASA image of the Pillars of Creation, which is one of the pictures I have on my wall. And I was like, wow, that looks almost as good, almost as color accurate as the picture on the wall. And I took lots of B-roll for that. And this is just so far behind that in terms of accuracy that I can't recommend this right now. I can't recommend it because of the pen, and I can't recommend it because of the color accuracy. And it seems to me that the latest generation of Bigme devices, the B7, the B1051C that I tried out as well, they've gone backwards. And why have they gone backwards? Both devices, it's because of the stylus. So the stylus here is unusable, just unusable. The stylus on the 1051C was unusable and gave me shaky handwriting as well. It was awful. They need to get the styluses right. That should be sort of priority number one really for them at this point. And it's, when you've got a device with bad hand recognition, you go into this kind of thing where you make sure you put your nib down first, then put your hand down. And it's always frustrating getting this sort of habit really. Yeah. Now, also, one of my viewers, Julia, she wrote and said that she'd had an awful experience with the battery here. She also noticed the terrible palm rejection. Yeah, and she said it had awful battery as well. And well, so today I chose to run a little bit of a battery test. I don't know if you've noticed, but get your typing fingers ready, everybody. But at lunchtime, I fully charged this. So it is now 10 in the evening now where I am. So at about 1 o'clock, it was at 100% plugged in. I unplugged it and I've left it since 1 o'clock, hardly having done anything with it, to be quite honest. I've probably used it a total of 20 minutes since then, just to sort of look over and remind myself of a few things. What battery do you think it's on now? So it's been used, it's been on standby for 8 hours, 9 hours, and it's been used for about 20 minutes actively. What battery percent do you think it's on? 35%. Okay, was your answer. 35%. So that is a terrible battery performance for standby for any device, let alone an e-ink device, which, yeah. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't know whether I've got lots of apps in the multitasking switcher, because I can't even get to the multitasking switcher on this, because I did. I managed it. No, I haven't had lots of apps, just a few. Okay, I don't think any of them are high-powered apps as well. Even I did think, what about if OneNote is good? Because Bigme tend to be quite good at managing OneNote with their global handwriting. But as you can see, even that, it's not ideal. And when I used this earlier, I just couldn't write on it at all. Is it? No, it isn't just handwriting. It isn't just palm rejection that's causing the issue there. It's just not a well-made stylus. So I've been kind of interrupted with this. I've tried my best to get along with it. I've tried to get to know it. I've tried to use it. I've tried to do what I normally do, which is use it and make notes on it and read on it and do all the things. I've just found it. I just couldn't get along with it really enough to do that. So yeah, bit of an issue with it really. It's been quite bad. And it also had problems opening this note earlier on. I don't know whether it'll manage it this time, but it just crashed out several times opening this note because it was done on the Ink Note X, I believe, this one. Let's try a different one that it hasn't opened today, but one with lots of strokes on it. It just crashed the thing. No, it seems to have managed those, but earlier on it just crashed those drawing files. So I don't know. There we go. It did it. So it just did this. Ink Note isn't responding. It's one of the lower performing devices that I've seen, full stop, and I just don't think that I could rely on it, and that's one of the issues there. It does, however, it has some things that are good about it. It has mobile connectivity. You can see it's there. It's working on its 4G as well, but I don't think that would be a reason enough to buy it with that kind of performance. It does have a camera on it, if that's something that you're into on your ink tablet for scanning documents, really. I will persevere with it. I will see if I can get to the bottom of why it's not performing like it should, but it isn't currently a device that I can say is going to be up there with my top recommendations. Cool, so let's have a little chat. Guys, jump on in and chat along with, you've got some illustrious company here. Jay's here, Khaled's here, Vlad's here, and lots of other folks are here as well, so really good to see you all. Let's just have a quick chat and then we'll call it. Why don't the e-ink get high-level CPOs if cheap smartphones can afford them? The e-ink themselves, the e-ink panels themselves are quite expensive. I think that's one reason for that. I think so. I think that, you know, they need to keep the cost down, otherwise it becomes prohibitive for people. But yeah, I think that they should try their best to get those better processors in their devices. Absolutely. When do I think we'll get e-ink phone with a pen and a signer? I think the e-ink have to decide to do it, Vladimir. Otherwise, I don't think the companies themselves can decide to do that in terms of, I don't think that they can make the screen technology have the Wacom EMR layer in that sort of size without that being made an option by e-ink themselves, really. I'd love to see it. Yeah, absolutely. we've attracted the right people today. What do you guys, if you've just joined, do you guys have any opinions? Did you listen to the whole thing at the start about the Bigme and the security concerns there? Be interesting to hear your opinions on that. Yeah, so same thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So similar thing I said. Sometimes Bigme is an exception. So the 1051C, yeah, they did. They put really good performing chips, and in fact, I didn't even get the highest performing one. They gave me the sort of the standard C, so 1051C. They gave me, but there's a 1051 Plus or Max or Ultra or something like that, which had like an even higher performing chip, and actually that was really good. The one I had, for everything apart from writing on it with the stylus, was really good. And if the stylus had been good, I probably would have been able to say that was a good tablet. But the stylus just couldn't do that really. And those chips are good. The MediaTek, not the major fan of the MediaTek, but when it says Dimensity, you know you're getting one of the better ones from MediaTek. And this is a Dimensity, the HiBreak Pro. And that's one of the reasons why it's good. And yeah, it had bad input, even though it was EMR. And I thought it was because of the case, or took out this case. It wasn't even a magnetic case that they've used. But yeah, it just gives you wobbly pens all the time. Quick one on the Hisense. So I installed it. Monzo, it came with a warning message saying this device was jailbroken or pretending to be over device ports. Yeah, so that's an issue. Yeah, absolutely. If it's not actually being secured by Play Protect. And we were talking about the security with this earlier, and one thing you can say is that all of your apps on here, if you've installed them via Play Protect, your data is secured by Play Protect. So that's the reason there for that issue, probably. So you want to have something with official Google Play support. Otherwise, you're in hot water with your security, I think. My pleasure, Steve-O. 2 Boox devices to watch your videos. So glad you opted for the Boox 7 Color Gen 2. Awesome. Glad to hear that. Most disappointing thing about this is that after Pocketbook bought a controlling share of Bigme, Pocketbook isn't a great at Android, but I hope their quality will cross over. That is an interesting point. Yeah, Pocketbook did take a big share of Bigme, didn't they? I don't think they bought, I thought they bought a third though, Jay, not a controlling share, but I guess they will definitely have a seat at the table. That's an interesting point. Yeah, so that should also have increased that trustworthiness, shouldn't it, as well? Interesting. Certainly should be. I guess it could also be battery life. More powerful CPUs would need more power, reducing battery life. Yes and no, but because if you pick well, then you can pick one with lots of like high energy efficiency cores. So normally CPUs in phones and mobile devices now have a big little architecture, meaning you've got like 2 or 4 big cores for power, and then you've got 4 little performance or efficiency cores. And generally, the better processors have better efficiency cores and can still run the apps really well when they need to. But again, it's if you want them to do that, you need to be good at writing code to use those cores in the right way. It's not just a case of putting it's not just a case of putting the chip in the device and it's going to be an amazingly efficient device. Lastly, then, I heard about the HiBreak security issue. I agree, it was definitely incompetence rather than maliciousness. Absolutely. Yeah, there you are. So the B7 is a 12-nanometer process chip, which is not great from an efficiency standpoint. The 690 is at 8-nanometer for comparison. So, yeah, miniaturization, as it gets smaller, it tends to get more efficient as well. Cool. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thanks for spending the evening with me. I hope that was informative. I hope that was useful. It's been really good to have you all here on the chat and just spend a bit of time with you. I am going to see you later. Hopefully, I've got you closer to answering that question. If you're asking it of whether you can trust Bigme going forward, I would say, yeah, that we're going to do Hanlon's razor on this one, and we're going to sort of we're going to expect them to learn from this one and do better next time, which is what we'll all try and do, isn't it? Let's face facts. Okay, awesome. Good evening to you all.